Dandenong Station is a station in Melbourne's southeast. Opened in 1877 to serve the main Gippsland line, which went out to Bairnsdale and even as far as Orbost, near the state's border. The line served as the terminus for electrification for decades, but the line was electrified further to Traralgon for intercity service. But the line was de-electrified in the 80s to Pakenham, where suburban service was then extended. Then re-extended to East Pakenham 23 days ago at the time of writing the script. In 1995, the following closure of the South Gippsland line, which branched off the main Gippsland line at Dandenong, was partially reopened to Cranbourne, where electric suburban service now runs, and Dandenong was rebuilt for this. In 1995, they had no idea what taste was, so an ugly gold and blue design was chosen. This really reflected the crap state of the network, being that Dandenong was meant to be some fancy interchange station, looking better than any other, but it looked like a preppy designed in Microsoft Paint. The rebuild also added a third platform for the Cranbourne line, and so it can run as a shuttle at certain times of the day, like the Alamein and Williamstown lines. This practice has been reduced on the Cranbourne line in anticipation for the opening of the Metro Tunnel, which will connect Dandenong with Sunshine and Sunbury in the northwest. It's also reduced the Williamstown line also because as the Williamstown line largely through runs with the Frankston line, later on the Sandringham line after the tunnel opens, allowing the Frankston line to take the place of the East Pakenham and Cranbourne lines in the City Loop. Dandenong is one of the best places for train frequencies in Melbourne, with trains every 10 minutes off peak and better on peak, with trains to the city roughly every 5 minutes, which is pretty much on par with Sydney Metro frequencies, and will only get better once the tunnel opens, which will increase frequencies network-wide. Except the Stony Point line, of course, you've still got to wait 2 hours for the train. When it finally comes, it might give the Stony Point line better rolling stock than the Sprinters, but I'll talk about the Stony Point line in another video. Back to Dandenong. There is no major Sunshine-style project set to improve Dandenong, which is fine because Dandenong isn't really in the centre of its area. It's actually pretty far from the city of Melbourne, where a train takes around 45 minutes, and almost all trains stop all stations to Caulfield. But they do run express from Caulfield to South Yarra, allowing 2 consecutive changes of the Frankston line at Caulfield and the Sandringham line at South Yarra. When the Metro Tunnel opens, trains from Dandenong will no longer stop at South Yarra and it will instead go through the tunnel embarrassingly short of South Yarra, in between South Yarra and Hawkesbury. A stop that all Dandenong trains run express through now, but might not be the case after the tunnel opens. However, getting to Flinders Street, Melbourne Central and Footscray will be made easier for passengers travelling from Dandenong, and passengers at Dandenong will have to rethink travel to Southern Cross and Richmond because there'll no longer be a direct line, and people will have to think about where to change lines and on what line to do that. Now onto the track layout. It's important to note that all the platforms at Dandenong are technically fully bidirectional, meaning that trains can and do terminate at Dandenong, mostly for the Cranbourne shuttles which run late at night. The shuttles almost run universally off of Platform 1, which is generally the up platform. Platform 1 is used bidirectionally every day, but is generally also an up platform, but trains do terminate in the up and down direction, and if Platform 3 is out of action for any reason. Platform 3 is universally the down platform, but crossovers exist on both sides of the station to allow massive amounts of flexibility, and also create a lot of noise. V-Line trains to Traralgon and Bairnsdale also stop at Dandenong, and they provide an unofficial express pattern for dodgy suburban commuters who want a service running express from Dandenong to Clayton, Clayton to Caulfield, Caulfield to Richmond, then Flinders Street and Southern Cross. You can't go wrong if you like to skip most of the stations on the line and spend half an hour on an overcrowded Velocity train, and that could barely even hold half the capacity it has. Dandenong's also got some pretty decent transit-oriented development, at least by Melbourne standards. Still far better than Sunshine, but it doesn't have all the flashy new projects that they think will make it better. At least compared to Brimbank, the council covers Sunshine. Brimbank literally asked for a whole tram network to go literally everywhere, and they wanted Albion to have a 6-track corridor built underground, and with Ballarat Road being rebuilt at grade with a tram corridor. Brimbank has some pretty high hopes. So why doesn't Dandenong's council? Maybe they've given up hope on trying to compete because every single council tries. Whitehorse, Moonee Valley, Banyule. Literally every council has tried to make a decent centre for suburban transit-oriented development, but Dandenong is unique because of how far it is from the central business district, being 28 kilometres in a straight line, which in my opinion is even more justification for transit-oriented development, especially in Dandenong because it will generate more trips there instead of making people go to the city on congested legacy infrastructure and wasting space for suburban commuters when local trips can be made to smaller urban centres that have the same amenities as a big city for retail and housing, diversity, employment, and obviously entertainment, which are all the reasons why people go to and from there, but transit-oriented development has a massive advantage. It's local. Living walking distance of a city in this regard, at least, is a massive selling point for housing, showing that you don't have to live in the inner suburbs to be near anything you need. And Dandenong can provide these opportunities if only given the right resources. And Dandenong Station can go only up from where it is now. But I'll have to leave it at this for the video. See you in the next one.